Welcome to Creepy Confidential. I'm your host, Noelle, your resident weirdo Wisconsinite. I open case files on cryptids, cults, conspiracies, and otherworldly creepy, bringing you new cases, live broadcasts, and local lore. So get ready, creeps. It's Creepy Confidential. What's up, creeps? Welcome to Creepy Confidential After Dark, even though it is not after dark because it's summertime. So here we are for another installation of Creepy Confidential After Dark, and we're here just to have a little discussion today, talk about creepy things. So we're just going to take care of a few in-house things just to make sure that, we got everything going. First of all, make sure you follow us on YouTube and on Spotify. We're also on Audible. Pretty much everywhere you can listen to the big places to listen to podcasts. Instagram is a big active location. Creepy Confidential, pretty much Creepy Confidential across the board. So we'd love it if we could have you over there to check us out. And we just want to thank you so much. I say we because it is me, but I also have my hubby, Mr. Creep, who helps us as well. Thank you so much to all of our new subscribers, our new followers, and I'm really excited to see what comes in the future. So today we are going to be doing a little Q&A and a little show and tell just to relax and just have a little fun. The biggest thing is just want to have off script and enjoy some conversation. So if you're here, please feel free to give us a comment. If you want to shoot a question over, that would be great. I'm keeping an eye out, always can listen to a new comment or question. And if you're listening to this on replay, please leave us a little ghost emoji so that I know that you're creeping in the dark. We'd love to know that we have kind of after broadcast watchers as well. So grab a beverage. Yes, mine is purple. Not doing alcohol today, though, just a beverage. And we're going to sit and chat. So I hope everybody is enjoying the episodes we've had thus far. There's lots of little inner working pieces of what goes on behind the scenes of Creepy Confidential. So I guess I put it out there on Instagram and all in the realms just to kind of see what you guys are wanting to know. So I've written down some things. So if you see me looking at, of course, my little digital device here, so we can answer some questions and then do a little show and tell because one of the questions just sparked, something bigger. So let's get started. So the first question that I have today is, of course, I just picked and then I put them in order. So what made you start Creepy Confidential? I have always been into the weird, the strange, the unusual, but I think what really made it start was when we moved to Ohio. I went to the Mothman Festival in 2018 and I saw all of the crazy lore and people dressed in costumes, and you could look at all the museums and everything. And I was just so inspired because I have so much weird knowledge in my head that I just wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to talk about Mothman, and I wanted to learn about Mothman because he was fairly new to my lore. Yes, Mothman does rule. He's pretty cool, and it was such an adventure to go there. I came home wanting to start this, and then it kind of hung out for a while, even though I wasn't sure kind of how I wanted to name this and where we were going. So I would say that Mothman inspired me, specifically Mothman inspired me to do a podcast about it and to talk about it and to join this community. And then once I finally figured it all out, it was time to just run with it. And I like to thank Mr. Creep actually created not one of the questions, but I wanted to add it in. So he actually created my logo for me after I had settled on a name. I love noir, that 40s vibe. And yet I love the kind of like government files. You see it with the big stamp. So I combined that LA Confidential mixed with the case files, and that's what became Creepy Confidential. And that's why we're here. So it's get a little information on that. Now, the next question I saw was, how young were you when you realized you enjoyed the strange and unusual? I started young, very young. It started with, if you're from the era of kids that are my age. So I was born in 83, just to put it out there. We're in that weird realm where we're not, I was just talking about this the other day, is we're not a Generation X, and yet we're not like a young millennial. So we have a little bit of both worlds. All those like 80s campy movies. So like Little Shop of Horrors, Beetlejuice, of course my mind is like going blank, but all these kind of like all the John Waters movies, those were very campy. And it was, Tim Burton came, he did Batman, and it just inspired to just make, is like, that's what you saw, was all these colors and the graveyards and things like that. And even as a little kid, I loved the library. I was obsessed with it. Mom could just put me in the corner over in the kids section, and inevitably I would wander around the other sections and I would just read about weird stuff. Because even in the kids section, you can get some really cool books, which I'll show you one that I've had forever. And I was probably 5. I can say probably 5, because I don't remember before then, but I do remember going to the library when I was about 5, and the librarian was so great there. She didn't care that I was a little strange, and that's really when it started. I wasn't gothy as a kid. I'm not like super gothy now, but I'm in that weird middle ground where I do enjoy it, but I don't dress like in the full traditional, like white black and really cool hair and things like that. It's like I'm not willing to pull the trigger on that, but maybe someday. It's like a gateway drug. So that I was very young, probably about like 5. So this one's totally jumping. Have you ever been abducted by aliens? I don't think I have. I never woke up one day and was like, gee, there's like spaces in time that I don't remember. I can't say that I have been abducted by aliens, but I can't say that I haven't. When I did the episode on, it's a good segue because the next one's written about Barney Betty, but we'll get to that. I saw her dress, which I've talked about this, I think, on another podcast. Her dress, her purple dress, and I have one almost exactly like it. And it has the same like funky staining, like not staining, but like where heat affects old pigment. And I don't know, maybe I've been abducted when I was wearing that dress and I don't remember. It's very similar. So I can't say. I mean, I do have some quirks about me. Maybe. Hey, aliens, if you're watching, can you please abduct me and take care of, this little tremor problem? And if you're the one who did it, we're going to have problems. Side note. So segue into the next question was about Barney and Betty. I've had a few people out in the Muggle world get in a conversation about this. Do you think that Barney and Betty Hill were telling the truth? So for those maybe that are a little behind the lore on this one, Barney and Betty Hill were the first, I'll say, huge publicized alien abduction here in the United States. And it was in that era of time where kind of the atomic era, where the cars were outer space, all the art was outer space. So it's odd and hard to determine if maybe they were inspired by something. But the biggest thing is when you listen to their audio. I think out of all the things, you can look at their pictures and you can listen, to other people talk about them, but there's audio files of them being hypnotized, and then audio files of them discussing this abduction with the public to essentially, try and like I'll say convince people that this really did happen to them. And the craziest things to listen to, I think, was when they're hypnotized. So I have, first of all, I'd never allow myself to be hypnotized. Not because I have like deep, dark, mob secrets, or do I? But I just don't like the idea of being able to be controlled or outside of my normal, kind of keeping my eyes on everything. But side note, I think that is the hardest to listen to. Their desperation in their voice. They are so upset. And yet you can imagine somebody in kind of like when you're half awake and half asleep and like you hear maybe a gunshot outside or you hear something like that and you're stressed and you're trying to like catch up with the conversation, like you can't get it out fast enough, and yet you are also trying to like imagine like, no, don't get her, like you're in a dream. It's very weird to listen to it. And I think that was one of the most crucial pieces of information by far, was listening to them when they are having this conversation, while they're hypnotized individually. And I have such a hard time listening because you hear Barney is, I think, the most concerned about the safety of Betty ultimately through that whole thing. Although he should have been worried about the dog too, but that's besides the point. Most concerned about Betty. You can hear it. I can't remember the exact words, but something basically like, I need to protect her. And Betty is concerned with the most parts that I think stuck out the most was when they were conducting experiments or about to conduct experiments. I remember she's like, my navel. She keeps saying navel, which is her belly button for maybe some people who don't know terminology. So it's like they went in through her belly button. Those two pieces out of all of it, I like hearing both of them separately have a recount of what happened. It's just bananas to me. Bananas. And I like to kind of dive deep into vintage, maybe audio and video that a lot of people might not look for. And I think that, and when they sat down this is how I imagine it. They came home. I have a feeling there was like, this just pedal to the metal, balls to the walls. Let's get home. This huge chunk of time though. And it's basically like, okay, I think this thing happened. Do you think this thing happened? And I imagine a conversation between the two of them was like, okay, don't spit it out yet. Let's sit down and let's draw. What did you see? And I'm going to draw what I saw. And then let's like compare notes. So they did this and it was almost exact. Like obviously everybody interprets what they see very differently, like what comes in, but it was almost exact. It was that part too. So I think listening to other people talk about being abducted, and like now you have all these years of people saying they're abducted, I think that they were telling the truth. Absolutely. I mean, he died early and she professed this until the day she died. So why would you stick to that story? Especially because they had everything to lose. This was, as you can tell, one question has gone into a lot of information, but you literally have everything to lose. You had a biracial couple during a time when that was also, there was a lot going on if you were, and yet they were trying to make a difference. So that's just crazy. I think that they were telling the truth. Oh, what is this space juice I'm drinking? So first off, Apothecary and Fresca, if you're listening to me. So there's this really cool brand, because it does look like alien juice, doesn't it? It's creepy. It's not a pop. There's this company called Apothecary, and they basically make herbal / mushroom, but not like trippy mushrooms, that kind of thing. Powders that help you like calm down or say, maybe go to sleep, or it's like natural energy. And then I love Fresca soda. Oh my God, do I love Fresca soda. It's a grapefruit soda water. We're not talking about Creepy Confidential right now because I need to talk about my love about Fresca. If you're listening, sponsor me. I love that stuff. So I'm just mixed the two, and it was actually blue and it turned purple. It's like chemistry in a glass. Now I want to know why it turned purple. So that's what I'm drinking. Space juice. Apothecary, if you're listening, please sponsor Creepy Confidential. I absolutely love. It's called Blew Me Away. It's great. Anyway, so let's go on. The Barney and Betty thing, I could literally, that's why I'm here. Let's let's keep it going. So somebody asked, what makes you pick a certain subject? Now, if you read kind of the header, I do cryptids, cults, conspiracies, and otherworldly creepy. And so that kind of encompasses everything. And I think right now I'm still going through the subjects that I have been probably picking at in my brain for the last 20 years of my life. Because as a teenager, I started really diving into it. So I think that's what I'm working through. So when I pick one, it's kind of whatever's been sitting in my little Rolodex for a while. And I try to mix it up a little bit. But it's really ones that have to have a certain extra creepiness about them. Are serial killers creepy? Oh, heck yeah. I mean, their brains are all messed up. But I like things that have a little extra to them. Or maybe they have like a haunting mixed in with them. So it's like a place maybe where serial killers were that have a haunting. It's like a, twofer. You get more bang for your buck. So I think that's usually, I don't just pick any subject. And then once I do, I'm obsessed with it. Absolutely obsessed with it. And that's usually what makes me just hone in on it. Oh, we got a new question. What is the wildest, creepiest experience you've personally ever had? I would say when we went to Starvation Heights. Now, I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with Starvation Heights. That's kind of like the slang for it nowadays. So there's a doctor. Well, she's not a doctor. She used to call herself a doctor. A lady named Linda Hazard. And that was, as a paranormal team, we convinced this family. So like, we're not here to make money. We just want to be here because it's so creepy. And it's a huge piece of history in the Pacific Northwest. There's been books written about it. And in the middle of this time, as we're there, I think it's creepy, but not like someone tapping your shoulder kind of creepy, like a ghost. I remember we went into the under basement area. I have a feeling this is where like horses may have backed up to the house but to the lower part. And I remember as we got to the bottom of the steps, all around the outer corners of where the walls should be, it wasn't like 90s. It was blobs of concrete that were maybe 5 to 6 feet long. And like these big cylindrical, imagine like a big marshmallow, but long. And then warbled in concrete. And in that same room, more towards the other side, I remember looking down and there was a big square. And it looked like a wall structure used to be there. And we were told that this is the people that owned the property and owned the house that they were building with the wood planks from Starvation Heights. But that's neither here nor there. In the floor. And it used to be a room that Miss Hazard would put her patients in, and it had a slidey door in the front. I mean, I'm talking room. This isn't even a room. This is like a stand-up stall. And she would open and check and see if they were still there, and then, alive, and then check and open and check until they were deceased. And this was in the basement. So she'd basically take them to the point of starvation where she wanted to get their jewels, their money, everything, and then put them into this cabinet room until they expired. And we were standing in that room. And this place was nuts. Absolutely nuts. And there were steps that had hideaways so that she could hide their jewelry and their money. So if someone came looking for this person, because these were pretty wealthy people that were coming to her. It's like, someone now having a celebrity doctor, like somehow this is who she became. So we were literally standing on these steps that she had hidden these people's life money just to kill them. And it was by far one of the craziest things. Now, the family didn't want us putting up, so we weren't allowed to post anything about it. We weren't allowed to make a video about it. We tried to tease that we had been there just to mention, and they made us take it all down. So I didn't sign any NDA or nothing. So good luck. And I think it's gone now. The place has been completely demolished, which is good. That place was freaky, creepy, all the above. So good question. I forgot about that. Well, I didn't forget about that place, but kind of filed it in the back because it's so creepy. Good question. All right, let's go back to our list. What do we got? Now, how long do you spend researching? Depends on the subject. I'll say Heaven's Gate. I probably spent a year collecting, just reading about Heaven's Gate. Every sort of blog, podcast, not like you get some podcasts where it's just two people bullshitting and they're laughing and they're not really talking about it, but ones that were educational, I would just listen and make notes and try and dissect as much as I could. And so something like that, I had so much, and I had been sitting on that for probably about a year before I finally broke down and did an episode on it. And once I saw the artwork, Mr. Creep was just meant to be a doodle. And I loved it. I loved how crazy it became my piece for the art. And then it all came out. So something like that, a year. Think about all the stuff that's happened. When it's something small that maybe I've recently learned about that I just want to take all the information and then give you my opinion, that's about a week. Usually about a week, maybe 2 weeks, so that I can get all the information out to everybody. Right. So they know. So are we ever going to see you again? Sometimes I get in here and I'm at the computer, just crazy-eyed for hours because I just can't take it. And I have my little library where now I've added books to it, and I just can't stop. They're like potato chips. So maybe a lot, maybe a little. Okay, a lot. I spend a lot of time. Stop it. And now this one's kind of, I guess, with that. How long does it take you to make an episode? Now I'll start with this. I'm gonna need a sip. I was horrible at school. This is going somewhere. Horrible at school. I was not prepared. I mean, I'm smart. I'm a very smart person, but I am not good at school. So I made it through. I did high school. I even did a little college, but I was never prepared for class. If there was homework, I was rushing to do it because my brain was just all over the place. If it wasn't something that truly got my attention, I would hyper focus on it, and then I was on to something else. So I shouldn't take that long, but I'll pick at it. I'll make an episode, and I'll pick at it and make an episode. So once I have everything, if I'm not rushing, it usually can take me about a day to do everything, to take all the information, record and edit. And then also about that is I'm looking to do more video style podcasts, and then we'll release the audio later, just as a podcast you'll still see the same thing, but so that we can have a little more interactive feel. And I'm sure that will take me longer, but it usually takes me about a day or two to get through everything, record it, and then edit it and get it out to you lovely creeps. So that's usually about the time. Now, see, I'm flying through these, flying through the questions that I had. So this question I loved. So what is your favorite book in the library? So they're talking about my creepy confidential library. There's no such thing as a single book that's my favorite. I'm sorry. But I will start with, I grabbed a couple because if you guys watched, I don't remember. This was a while ago. I was a guest on on What Goes Bump in the Night podcast, and I had like a pile of books I wanted to show. I noticed they were trying to do their own thing. So this is a vintage book, The Very Scary Almanac. It is a kid's book, but it's good. It's good because there's so much information in it. Now, when you open it, let me show you. It's a little piece of history here. You can see this kid's handwriting on the inside. And at first I was going to check it out from my own library when I was a kid. And I loved this book so much. I never would hand it out. This book started it all of it. I can say that I remember getting this book as a kid and I was obsessed from here on out with all things creepy. And from then I really dove in, and they have everything from phobias to ghosts to movies that were done that are creepy. They talk about haunted houses, but it's not like a kid's book, like it's got actually has some words and things like that. And it's great. It's so weird, but it's great. And I really enjoy that they had places and people that you could contact on the inside, societies and research societies. And one of these days I'm going to actually get around to doing that, but this one might be one of my favorites. Yes, it all started at a Scholastic Book Fair. It did. I think this one was from Hastings Book, Music, and Video in Texas. I'm pretty sure that's where I got it. I fell in love with it. It's so good. It's so good. So if you have a little creepy kid, they'll love you for it. Absolutely love you for it. Yes, the original one. Don't get one of these new weird ones where things have been edited out of it. Get the original one. So now we're going to do some show and tells. I would say I started with ghosts and paranormal first. Like I mentioned before, I've been part of a paranormal team. I actually used to, which is funny because the bookmark is actually my old business card. I used to be a part of this team called GIGS, Girls Investigating Ghosts and the Supernatural. We were based out of Paulsbo, Washington. And I think that was my gateway into just really going about all the subjects. But I would say that the ghost books are probably more prevalent at first, and then I started diving into all of them. So this is actually the one I wanted. The Ghost Hunter's Guide to Seattle and Puget Sound. I know that it's a Washington book, but this is, like, you can tell it's bookmarked. I'm pretty sure I have notes in here. And I really tried to go to as many places as I could, either individually or as a team, or even just to research, because I wanted to know more about ghosts. And a lot of these places are public. So I wish that I could find a book like this that's Ohio, and not like Haunted Ohio. I'm talking a book that has all these locations. Like, someone had to really spend some time getting all these locations. Let's see what's bookmarked. Since I got you guys here, let's see. Oh, I must have really been getting. So this is the technical approach. So it's talking about being a paranormal investigator. In the very beginning, it talks about it simply because I cannot stand the investigations that are like, I'm feeling the emotion. No, you're not. Truly, there might be some people out there that can, but there's no way that every single one of these investigations, you have all these people that can. It just doesn't work that way. So I like to have evidence. So this talks about that. Oh, there's more. What has been one of your favorite pieces of information you've discovered while researching the topics you've covered? Oh, let's see. I think Heaven's Gate was a big one. Again, obsessed with Heaven's Gate. Not because of the subject, but it was a matter, like, I knew what happened. I think anybody that's from that era, they know that all these people committed suicide. The Nikes, the purple, like, everybody kind of knows. I think it was when I found out that I think it was another, like, informative podcast or read that Doe and T, were like this. I knew that. But when T had been giving money to her daughter and apparently no one knew, and the fact that when she died, no one reached out to her family, I think that was crazy. Was really on the inside was maybe that T, that was the woman, she wasn't really in it to win it. I mean, maybe she was, but it's like she couldn't let go of that, even though you were supposed to leave everybody behind. I remember I was driving in the car, and actually I think I might have been, because if you are a courier or a semi-driver or something like that, you probably listen to audiobooks and things like that. And I want to say I was being a courier, for those who don't know me. And I remember going, what do you mean? I'm driving around talking to myself in our little van. I think that's the impact it had. I was just glued to it. I could not believe that all these things had happened. I know it seems like a really small piece of information, but it let me know that these two were supposed to be like, we're going to be the martyrs. We're going to kill you. We're going to die. We're going to da 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 da. And I don't really think, I think she didn't know how to get out or whatever. I don't know. I think that was by far, I just couldn't get enough of that whole subject. That one really blew my mind. Don't join a cult, kids. Just so you know, don't join a cult. Thank you for the question, by the way. Thank you. So another book about ghosts. Folks, if you are into paranormal and ghosts, you should have this book, Ghosts, Apparitions, and Poltergeists. It talks about, it's not a specific, like Gloria from this one. It does some, but it talks about the difference between all these different things. So I think that if you're going to be a paranormal investigator, you need to know not necessarily like the history of every single thing that's ever happened, but you need to know what you're looking for. It's like going hunting and not knowing what kind of deer you're allowed to shoot. Like you really have to know what you're looking for. If you're looking for a demon, well, you need to know what potentially has been tracked. If it's a demon, or is it a ghost that's acting like a demon because it either doesn't want you there or it's scared. So you need to know those things. Or like, where did ectoplasm come from? I had somebody that was like talking about that, and it's not just Ghostbusters. Like Ghostbusters got it from somewhere, and it's probably from Helen Duncan, which we're going to talk about on one of our things. She used to do these images of her ectoplasm, that would come from her as she would come into a trance. It's you need to add to your information so that you're not just grasping at straws, and your credibility looks higher because you have this education. If you went to a doctor and they were like, I feel like it's broken, and that's it, you probably shouldn't listen to them. Like, what about an x-ray? So you have pictures, or, what's the background education wise? I think those are important things. So that one is a really good one. Ghosts, Apparitions, and Poltergeist. I probably should say who it's by. It's really good. Brian Wright. It's really good. I know I've said that 5,000 times, but it is. It says an exploration of the supernatural through history. So there you go. It does talk about individual things, but it's very good. Ghost Hunter's Guide. What are we at here? Now this one, it's another ghost. I grabbed a lot of ghost books. Mary Roach. She's done, this is like a show and tell book show. Oh well. Mary Roach, the two books I really love. Spook is a great one. She did another one called Stiff, which is the life of a cadaver, but it's a journey. It's a really journey. You learn so much, and yet it has comedy and talking about things that are uncomfortable. And then Spook is science tackles the afterlife. Now, I will admit, there were parts of this book where I'm like, this is a little slow. Come on, keep it moving, Mary. And then there were parts where I was glued to it. And she covers just trying to prove that there may be an afterlife in a scientific sense. So This was the first place that I read about the 21 grams, which was a recent episode we did. This was the first place I read about 21 grams back in the day when I was on my paranormal team. And that was the weight of the human soul. So that was a very interesting, while I guess because he didn't have a big sample size, it was a very interesting experiment. Now, coming back to Heaven's Gate, because it's one of the books I have. During my journey, while investigating for this episode, like I said, it took me a long time. Now, I had somebody from Heaven's Gate. Actually, I had two people from our recent current members. I don't know how that's possible, but if you're a current member, I guess you're allowed to still be here. Contact me and basically still told me, stick to cryptids. I don't know. I deleted the comment. I really didn't care. And because I talked about this, I talked about what I got. So during the investigation, I discovered that their website was still active. And I really, was floored that it was still around. Now, it looks very much like from the early internet days, but they had a place that you could contact them and ask for their anthology. And now I think it's under something else, like their study materials, essentially. So they sent me an email right back. And you better believe my heart was pounding. But within like 2 minutes, somebody emailed me back with all of the videos that they have. And this is not for me to learn, don't worry, but I needed this. I was able to watch their exit videos when they were getting ready to commit this mass suicide, and all the teachings that were in like this long, I think they just took a whole bunch and then put it into little bitty pieces. But oh my God, this guy, he talks and talks and talks. I'm a talker, but kind of just makes you, fall asleep. So I realized in that same email, he said that if you'd like a copy, you send, I think it was $40, and he gave me an address. I don't like to gamble, right? So if you gamble, you're not getting that money back. Like, it's worth your entertainment value. So I figured my $40 is worth my entertainment value to send it to this address and see what happens. A few weeks later, Heaven's Gate sent me their study material. It's their anthology. What? This is not a book that you can go to the store and buy. I'm sure you could also get a hold of them and send them your address and that they will send it to you, but you can't buy it at a store. So I had to ask for study material, and it showed up. It is nothing but this. It drags on and on. I was reading it. Here I am. Imagine, let me paint you a picture. I'm in bed getting ready. I'm in bed, I'm reading. I have my book. Mr. Creep is getting ready for bed, and he realizes what I'm reading as pre-sleep reading material. And I'm like, you have to read this. And I'm like saying it out loud, what's on the pieces of paper, going, this guy. I don't know of too many people that choose to read things like this for pre-sleep reading material, but it'll put you to sleep, that's for sure, because it's just rambling on and on and on. But I think it's a piece of history that, you can't buy. So it's very interesting to me. There is the original, there's a, where is this? I want to say it's in Las Vegas. It could be in California. My brain is escaping me. There is a museum that contains like a full mock-up of the Heaven's Gate, the way that they were found. There's a bed, there's a fake body, that kind of thing. And then they had an original copy of this in that museum. And it's one of those, like, it's bound by a spine, like an actual, like the little finger spines. It's probably so that you could, read easily and not destroy the pages as a student. It makes sense. And that's displayed there, as well as a patch and things like that. And I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. It's just interesting to me. More to read about where their brains at. So this is what, I don't know, how would you keep people involved that long and then convince them that the comet's going. You need to eat this pudding or applesauce with this drugs in it. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a bad student. I'll fall asleep on you. I can't take it. I was trying again as I was driving around. I was listening to his talks and his students, and listening to the students when they were getting ready to do their exit interviews, and it's boring. It is definitely boring, at least to me. And they're a few potato chips shy of a bag, I guess you could say. Now, so what's weird is I have, so that's the questions I have. I know this isn't like a crazy long episode, but it's something that I wanted to come on here. I could talk about Heaven's Gate all day long, and I'm sure I get another nasty gram. So maybe I shouldn't. So the episodes, I think a big one that's in the future that I really want to talk about is kind of diving into more of the cursed objects. I have a lot that I've been looking at. I really am excited to get out there the Robert the Doll episode. Those who maybe aren't familiar with Robert the Doll, he is very old. He's over 100 years old. There's been just happenstance of, if you don't talk to him correctly, if you don't ask permission for a photograph, there's been deaths that are directly related to this, and he's creepy. I'm excited to get those out there, and maybe to do some more paranormal things. I know I've done a couple, so I have a list. Of course I have a list, but I'm excited to get some more information out there. Not a very long one today, like I said just a second ago, but I thought it would be fun to come on here, show my face so you guys can actually see me, talk about the books. I'm very excited. I have booked one of the local, so I am here in Columbus, Ohio, and they have a haunted tours that are in the area, and they go through the Green Lawn Cemetery at night. I'm very excited to be a part of that. Well, I'm not like part of their business, but to go do that, because I have not been there. We've lived here for like 6 years, and I have not been to a major cemetery to walk through, which I know people know me. That's a little crazy. I may not be super looking like a goth, but I love cemeteries. They're just so informative, because you get to like look at all the era and the decades, and like, what does each stone look like, and what's the message on the stones, and I'm very excited for that. And then I hope to have a couple more guests here in the future. There's some artists that I really enjoy that are in the creepy cryptids, aliens world, and I think it would be very fun to have them on here. So if you have a guest that you would like to have on here, you're like, hey, I think that I really like to see so-and-so, or if you are somebody who would like to be a guest on Creepy Confidential, that'd be great. Please hit us up at creepyconfidentialpodcast@gmail.com. You can also, it's much easier probably just to hit us up on Instagram, Creepy Confidential. You don't have to get into your email or nothing. I think pretty much everybody has Instagram these days. Same with TikTok. I'm trying to get more out there on TikTok. I don't know about you guys. I could scroll on TikTok for quite a long time, because there is a whole paranormal, like an aliens and conspiracy TikTok. It's not good for someone who has an addiction like that. I love watching all these little videos, because then I can go, that's a hoax. Oh my gosh, that's real. Like, it really lets me know, like, what I'm looking for when it comes to them. Oh, I have been to Lakeview. Oh, that's up in Cleveland. There's I want to go back there. Huge cemetery for the Weeping Angel, the Hazaro Angel. It's like a green statue, and it looks literally like it's crying. Now that I'm especially a little more involved in this world, I would love to go back up there and get some cool pictures. So I'm hoping to do that. So if you guys have any questions, please reach out. We would love to hear from you guys. Please follow us on Instagram and all of them, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. If you subscribe here on YouTube, you can get notifications of when our next video is. And I cannot wait to get those next episodes out to you guys. So stay tuned, and I really enjoyed hanging out with you guys. Have a good night. I know it was like, yep. Have a good night, guys. Bye.